Imagine hitting send on like a rough draft of your company's highly confidential new business plan,
Oh, that's stressful just to think about.
right? And instantly handing a pristine copy of that plan over to your biggest competitor's internal training department.
Yeah, just giving it right to him.
If you're using a free AI tool to summarize or brainstorm your daily work today, that is quite literally what you might be doing.
It is. It's the core dilemma of our current technological moment, honestly.
You want to leverage these incredible tools to speed up your workflow, obviously. But doing so often feels like leaving the front door of your brain wide open for anyone to just walk through.
Because we're operating in a digital environment that is fundamentally designed to watch you think.
It is the absolute end of the isolated thought process.
Uh,
And honestly, that realization can feel totally paralyzing.
oh, for sure.
You're stuck in this tension of not wanting to fall behind on productivity, but also flat out refusing to hand over your intellectual property just to write a simple email.
Which is a totally valid fear.
Exactly. And that tension is exactly why we're thrilled to have you joining us for today's deep dive. Our mission today is simple. We're going to cut through the overwhelming, just deafening noise of AI data privacy and figure out how you can actually protect your knowledge right now.
And we're tackling this today by looking at a really fantastic piece of synthesis.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
The primary source for our deep dive today is an article published on July 6th, 2026. It's by Aaron Rose in Tech Reader magazine, and it's titled, 3 Things You Can Do Right Now to Keep Your Data Private.
What I love about this article is why the author felt compelled to write in the first place.
Yeah, the catalyst is fascinating. So just prior to this article, the data analytics company Palantir released a massive 28-page white paper.
Huge document.
Yeah, titled Institutional Sovereignty in the Age of AI. And this white paper is incredibly thorough. I mean, it outlines a highly complex 15-step framework spanning 4 different technology layers.
It's intense.
It really is. To give you an idea of the density, one of Palantir's layers focuses entirely on establishing dynamic access control protocols across distributed, decentralized network nodes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's aimed squarely at governments and massive enterprise corporations with dedicated IT security teams.
Which means it is not exactly light weekend reading for the average person.
Not at all.
I mean, if you're a small business owner or just a professional trying to keep your personal projects private, reading a 28-page enterprise security document detailing decentralized node management might just make you want to throw your computer into a lake.
Just go live in the woods, yeah.
Exactly. Go live in the woods. But this article does something brilliant. It distills that massive Palantir framework down into 3 plain, highly actionable steps for the individual.
It really democratizes the information. But before we explore those 3 practical steps, we have to grasp the foundational premise of Palantir's white paper,
Right.
which the article rightfully highlights as the driving force behind everything. Palantir calls it the sovereignty question.
And sovereignty, in this context, really just comes down to ultimate control over the digital exhaust you produce.
Exactly.
Every single time you interact with an AI, you're generating data. Whoever controls that data fundamentally determines whether your knowledge stays yours or quietly becomes someone else's asset.
Right, which raises an important question for you to think about. Do you rule your data, or does the tool you're using rule it?
That's the big question.
Because if you don't have sovereignty, you're effectively a digital tenant, and your landlord can just go through your belongings whenever they please.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to figure out how to achieve that sovereignty, we first need to confront a rather uncomfortable truth about how we are currently hemorrhaging our own data.
Yeah, it's not a pretty picture.
No, it's not. And to understand how to protect it, we have to look at the very mechanics of what these AI companies are actually harvesting.
It's a harsh reality check. We tend to think of data purely as the text we type into a prompt box, you know?
Like just the words.
Right. If you ask an AI to write a marketing plan, you assume the data is just your prompt and the resulting plan. But the source material is very clear that the data profile they build on you is vastly more expansive than that.
It's not just the conversation itself. It is the entire context surrounding the conversation. The article points specifically to telemetry, which I think a lot of people misunderstand telemetry as just like a basic crash reporting mechanism.
Many do assume that, yeah, oh, the app crashed, send a report.
Right.
But in the AI space, telemetry is a highly sophisticated, constant stream of metadata. Think of telemetry not as the destination you type into your GPS, but as the exhaust coming out of your car.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
combined with a sensor tracking how hard you press the gas pedal and another tracking how often you brake. The AI provider is collecting answers to questions you didn't even know you were being asked.
Like what kind of questions?
Like who initiated this prompt? At what exact time of day? How many times did they rewrite it before hitting send? What broad semantic categories do their questions usually fall into?
Wow. So even if a company promises to anonymize the actual text of what you wrote, they're still collecting a terrifyingly granular behavioral profile.
Absolutely.
They know your work habits, they know when you are awake, what problems you're desperately trying to solve at 2 in the morning, and exactly how reliant you are on their system to just do your job.
And under standard consumer agreements, or the free tiers of these AI tools, the provider has an immense amount of leeway to exploit that behavioral profile.
Because it's free.
Exactly. The article explicitly notes that under these free agreements, some or all of your data, and that absolutely includes that telemetry exhaust, may be retained indefinitely.
Which is wild.
They can feed it directly back into their training pipelines to make their future models smarter. In certain cases outlined in the fine print, your unencrypted interactions might even be flagged for manual review by human employees.
Which brings us back to that terrifying scenario we started with. The brilliant half-baked idea you typed into a free AI tool on a Tuesday night could theoretically end up helping train the model that your competitor uses to beat you to the market on Wednesday morning.
It's entirely possible.
You are essentially trading your private intellectual workflows for free access to a neat tool.
That is the complete loss of sovereignty in a nutshell. But Palantir's white paper does offer a structural remedy for this, which the article translates for the individual user. It's called ZDR.
Zero data retention. This seems to be like the gold standard for AI privacy right now.
It really is. A zero data retention agreement means that absolutely nothing, no prompts, no outputs, no telemetry, no metadata exhaust, is stored by the provider's servers beyond the exact millisecond required to compute the response to your prompt.
So it's just gone.
Completely gone. Once that output hits your screen, the data evaporates from their network entirely.
I love trying to visualize this mechanically. It's like the difference between sending the postcard through the mail, where the mail carrier reads your message, analyzes your handwriting, logs what time you sent it, and takes a photocopy for their corporate files.
Right.
Versus using a self-destructing sealed envelope. The second the recipient opens it and reads the message, the envelope and the letter just instantly turn to ash. ZDR is the self-destructing envelope.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize the mechanism, actually. The computational transaction happens, but it leaves absolutely zero historical trace on the provider's infrastructure.
Just what?
Exactly. It's mathematically impossible for them to train on your data because the data just ceases to exist on their end.
But I have to push back here because reading this part of the article, I immediately wondered about the sheer practicality of it all.
Sure.
Is it really realistic to expect an everyday user or even like a mid-sized design agency to sit down with a monolithic tech giant and negotiate a custom zero data retention contract?
Yeah, that is the bottleneck. And the article addresses this head on. The short answer is no.
No.
Individual users and small teams do not have the legal or financial leverage to demand custom ZDR contracts today. Those highly specific legal guarantees are currently locked behind enterprise tiers for clients who can pay millions of dollars for the privilege.
So if you cannot negotiate a self-destructing envelope contract, are you just completely out of luck and forced to use the postcard?
Not at all. And this is where the article provides incredibly actionable advice that you can apply right now. While you can't negotiate a bespoke contract, you can be highly deliberate about the pre-existing contracts you opt into.
Okay, how so?
Well, the article urges individuals to use paid subscription tiers whenever humanly possible. Paid tiers fundamentally shift your relationship with the provider.
From product to customer.
Precisely. When you use a free tier, you're the product. When you upgrade to a paid tier, you become a customer. And paid tiers usually have explicit, publicly available data retention policies that limit training on your inputs.
So you actually have a customer agreement to lean on, which often includes opt-outs for model training.
Yes. But, and this is key, you must actually read those policies to verify that opt-out is enabled. It's not always automatic.
You have to flip the switch yourself sometimes.
Exactly. But the absolute most crucial immediate step you can take today, like if you take nothing else away from this deep dive, is to triage your information.
Triage it.
Never send the crown jewels of your personal or business life through any tool if you do not explicitly understand the architecture of where that data ends up.
That makes total sense.
A generic email draft might be fine for a free tier, but your company's proprietary source code, your personal financial planning, you keep that offline until you have a secure environment.
What's fascinating here is that making these deliberate, careful choices about data exposure today, like learning to triage your prompts, is what builds the muscle memory for true data control tomorrow. You are establishing a habit of sovereignty.
Which is vital, because even if you are carefully managing your risk and paying for premium tiers, we still have to acknowledge the structural elephant in the room. You are still reliant on someone else's servers.
Exactly. If we establish that our data is inherently at risk when it travels to a cloud server, what is the alternative? Are we just permanently stuck renting space in massive corporate data centers?
Right.
This brings us to the concept of the frontier trap and how to eventually escape it.
Yeah, the author points out that almost everyone using AI today is relying on frontier models. Now, we all know the big players in this space, but the defining characteristic that matters for our privacy discussion isn't how smart these models are, it's where they physically live.
They're hosted entirely by the companies that built them. You can't just download a state-of-the-art frontier model to a thumb drive and run it on your laptop while you're on an airplane.
Precisely. Because you can't run them locally, your data must traverse the internet to reach their infrastructure to be processed.
It has to travel.
Yeah. And no matter how good your paid tier agreement is, your workflows are fundamentally subject to their changing terms of service, their server outages, and ultimately, as the article puts it, their goodwill. You're tethered to their ecosystem.
And to try and loosen that tether, Palantir's white paper emphasizes this concept of model liquidity.
Model liquidity is a fascinating architectural strategy to avoid vendor lock-in. It essentially means designing your digital life and your business workflows so that you have the mechanical ability to swap out different AI providers at a moment's notice.
Without losing everything.
Exactly, without losing your historical data or completely breaking your operations.
I imagine that is like making sure all the appliances in your house use standard universal electrical plugs.
It's a great analogy.
If your current electric company suddenly hikes their rates or changes their privacy policy in a way you dislike, model liquidity means you don't have to rewire your entire house. You just unplug from them and plug your standard cords into a different grid.
That is exactly the mechanism. Practically speaking, this means not overly relying on the proprietary built-in features of one specific chat interface.
Like their specific folders or tags.
Right. It means maybe using standard API wrappers or keeping your prompt libraries saved in a neutral format on your own hard drive, rather than saved exclusively within a specific provider's walled garden. You stay nimble.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because the article argues that while model liquidity is a great defensive strategy, it is not the ultimate destination for data privacy.
No, it's just a stepping stone.
Right. The real paradigm shift, the actual escape hatch from the frontier trap, is the rise of local AI.
This is perhaps the most critical technological development highlighted in the source. Local AI refers to the deployment of open-weight models.
Open weight.
Yeah, and to understand why this is revolutionary for privacy, we have to look at the mechanism of what a model actually is. A trained AI model is essentially a massive, complex file containing billions of mathematical probability weights. Those are the neural pathways that dictate how it understands language.
With a closed frontier model, those weights are locked in a corporate vault.
Yes. And with open-weight models, the developers literally publish that massive file for the public to download. You can pull the entire brain of the AI down onto hardware that you physically own and control.
I could put it on a private server, sitting in a locked closet in my own office.
You could. And the privacy implications of that are absolute. When you run an open-weight model locally, zero data ever leaves your physical environment.
None of it.
None. There is no telemetry exhaust being secretly beamed back to a tech giant because the model isn't connected to their servers. There's no risk of a changing cloud privacy policy because there is no cloud. The sovereignty is total.
But let me ask you a clarifying question about the reality of doing this today.
Sure.
Because this feels a bit like comparing renting time on a massive billion-dollar industrial crane versus owning a highly customized Swiss Army knife.
Okay.
The frontier models have entire nuclear power plants backing their compute centers. Are these open-weight models that I can run on a desk actually smart enough yet to handle complex tasks? Like, Is it a David versus Goliath scenario?
Your assessment of the current landscape is entirely accurate, and the article validates that hesitation. The source explicitly states that right now, today, open-weight local models are not yet at the absolute capability level of the massive frontier model.
Especially for the really complex stuff.
Exactly, especially for highly complex multi-step reasoning. You do not need to forcibly migrate all your workflows to a local model this afternoon.
So renting the industrial crane is still the only way to lift the heaviest cognitive workloads.
For the heaviest workloads, yes.
Yeah.
But the crucial synthesis here is the trajectory of the technology.
Where it's going.
Right. The article emphasizes that the capability gap between the massive cloud models and the local open-weight models is narrowing at a staggering exponential pace with every single new release. The local models are getting smaller, more efficient, and vastly more capable.
So the takeaway isn't to immediately delete your cloud AI accounts in a panic today.
No, the takeaway for you is to actively plan for local AI. You need to architect your digital life with the firm expectation that in the very near future, choosing a local AI for your most sensitive proprietary needs will be the ultimate foolproof way to ensure your data stays yours.
It's coming?
It will be a viable option, so you must prepare your infrastructure to adopt it when the time is right.
I love that perspective. It takes away that feeling of helplessness.
Yeah.
Which provides a perfect transition to the third and final takeaway from the piece.
Yeah.
We know we have to aggressively triage our data today, and we know we need to strategically plan for local AI tomorrow. But how do we bridge that gap without getting completely overwhelmed by the 15-step complexity of an enterprise security framework?
Right, the Palantir document.
Yeah. The answer the article gives is surprisingly non-technical. Intent.
It is the most philosophical point in the piece, but functionally, it's the linchpin of the entire strategy. The article argues that the sheer complexity of Palantir's full framework, the decentralized nodes, the encryption layers, is not a valid excuse for the average user to just throw their hands up and do nothing.
It is so easy to experience security fatigue, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Read an article about telemetry exhaust and frontier model data harvesting, and you just think, I am just one person, I don't have an IT department, I can't possibly build a 4-layer data defense system, whatever, let the tech giants read my prompts, I just need to get this email written.
And that defeatist attitude is exactly what the author is warning against, because the most critical move you can make right now is not a technical configuration on a server. It is an intentional decision in your own mind.
Just a decision.
You must simply decide firmly and finally that your data matters. You must view your knowledge, your brainstorming, your unique workflows as highly valuable assets that are inherently worth protecting.
I have to be honest, I am going to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Because setting an intent sounds a bit, I don't know, fluffy. It sounds like a New Year's resolution. I intend to eat healthier. I intend to protect my data. How does a simple mindset shift actually alter a digital workflow or a network architecture in practice?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, a firm mindset shift is the only thing that actually drives consistent structural change. The source text beautifully maps this abstract intent to highly concrete, everyday operational decisions.
Okay.
It's not just positive thinking. It is establishing a functional filter for your daily actions.
Walk me through what that looks like on a random Tuesday afternoon at the office.
Okay, let's say you're a small business owner. On Tuesday afternoon, you need to generate some generic ad copy for a holiday sale. But you also need to analyze a spreadsheet containing the personal contact information and purchasing habits of your top 100 clients.
2 very different tasks.
Exactly. If you haven't set an intent to protect your data, you just dump both tasks into the same free cloud AI because it's fast.
You take the path of least resistance.
Yes. But if you have fundamentally decided that your client data is a proprietary asset, if that intent is locked in, your workflow physically changes. You generate the generic ad copy in the cloud because who cares if they train on that?
All right.
But for the client spreadsheet, that intent forces you to pause. It dictates that you either analyze that data offline manually or you take the time to run a small, open-weight local model specifically for that task. The intent acts as a daily triage mechanism.
See the mechanism now. It is the compass that dictates the architecture.
Exactly.
You do not need a corporate security team, and you don't need $1 million enterprise contract to start treating your own intellectual property with respect. The technical solutions will continue to evolve, like local AI getting smarter, but you will only adopt those solutions if you've already decided that your privacy is a non-negotiable baseline. The intent must come first. The infrastructure follows.
That is the empowering message at the heart of both Palantir's massive framework and the magazine's brilliant distillation of it. You build the infrastructure of sovereignty one deliberate choice at a time.
So what does this all mean? It means we are currently navigating a messy transitional phase in computing. You might not be able to keep your digital life perfectly 100% locked down right this very second without sacrificing a significant amount of utility.
Right.
But the tools to give you that ultimate control, the open weight models, the model liquidity wrappers are being built right now. The computational costs of running local AI are plummeting. The ultimate choice of how private you want to be is going to be entirely yours to make.
Yeah.
But you have to decide today that your data actually matters enough to protect it.
Let's quickly lock in those 3 major takeaways from the article so you can start applying them immediately.
First, stop the bleeding today. Acknowledge that your data is absolutely not private on free tiers. Utilize paid tiers where possible, actively verify your opt-out settings, aim for 0 data retention agreements if your organization can swing it, and above all, fiercely triage what you share with the cloud.
Triage is key.
Second, recognize that while you are currently reliant on the big frontier models, you must actively architect your workflows to plan for the arrival of highly capable local AI. Keep your data portable.
Yes.
And third, make the intentional, non-technical decision today that your data is a valuable asset and let that intent dictate your daily software choices.
We really want to emphasize why this framework is so incredibly empowering for you as a listener. You do not have to be an enterprise giant with a massive IT budget to achieve data sovereignty.
Not at all.
By simply understanding the mechanics of telemetry, by actively triaging your prompts, and by structurally planning for local hardware, you are already vastly ahead of the curve.
It is about migrating from being a passive consumer of a service to an active protector of your own mind.
Yes. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over, building on the mechanics of everything we've discussed today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talked extensively about how local AI is the future, primarily because it protects your privacy. But think about the implications of that absolute privacy on the capability of the technology itself.
What do you mean?
If the future is running a highly capable local AI entirely on your own private hardware, what happens when that local model eventually becomes fundamentally more useful to you than the massive frontier giants?
Wait, more useful. How could a model running on my desk ever outperform a trillion-dollar cloud model?
Because your local model will be the only AI in the world that has unfettered access to 100% of your most private, unfiltered, deeply personal data.
Oh, wow.
It will see your messy journal entries, your real financial anxieties, your unedited business strategies, the very data you would rightfully never dare send across the internet to a cloud server.
Because it's locked down.
Exactly, because it is completely secure, you will give it everything. Could that absolute ironclad privacy actually be the structural key to creating a more deeply personalized, devastatingly powerful AI assistant than any tech giant could ever legally or safely offer you?
Wow. That completely flips the script on the entire industry.
It really does.
The locked drawer doesn't just keep your secrets safe. It actually creates the only secure environment where your digital assistant can safely learn to know you better than you know yourself, without anyone else in the world ever finding out. Privacy isn't just about defense. It is the ultimate feature.
The ultimate feature.
That is an incredible thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, stay intentional, and keep your data safe.